今回の、エンジニアリングクレジットは何と名前
中村慎吾です。
あ、はい。
はい。
中村慎吾がいいですか？それとも慎吾
中村の方がいい。
Today we are talking about Waterline. It's a new tune that Keg and I started playing last year because I wrote it last year. Quickly became a fan favorite actually at live shows and also amongst him and I as well. By the way, the first footage you saw was our music engineer, Shingo Nakamura, and he really enjoyed having his name called Shingo Nakamura. Thank you, Shingo, for your wonderful work. Waterline is a very significant tune for the duo Got Monk. It really was an experiment for me to see if I can really expand on playing more parts or more colors when we do a duo. Up until now, even though Kūbo has 4 outputs, I don't think I really used it very fully to its potential, and I'm still working on that. But Waterline was the first leap in terms of really trying to get this duo sound more like an ensemble. In this video, we're going to actually use footage from the actual tour and also the studio session to get some insight on what it was actually like to do that take that day. We're going to talk about the actual gear I use, so if you're into that, don't miss that part. Of course, we'll do a little bit of breakdown in terms of how I'm playing the bass line and maybe things you can use to practice soloing over that bass line. And so I hope you enjoy. Let's take the main bass line of this tune. As you can hear, I'm actually plucking that with one hand bass, meaning I'm holding down the note with this finger and I'm plucking it with these two by default. If I were to tap that, this is how it will actually sound. And notice you get a lot more ringing. I'm sure the reverb that I have on there by default isn't helping, but if you hear, and then if you compare it to the plucking, it's got quite a bit of difference in terms of sound. For this one, I really prefer. And as you can see, when I go, I can actually get a ghost note in there by just slightly hitting the string. And that really helps create a little more groove and a little more bass player-like approach. Also, same here. That approach is called one-hand bass. I called it one-hand bass because most of the times people ask me to name things and I really don't care about naming stuff, but that's alright. We can call it one-hand bass for now. The main melody for this I want to focus on the left hand for now. So you can see I'm actually playing 3 notes. So it's very simple type of melody, if you will. I don't know if you can even almost call it a melody. It's just if you just take the top note. So what I'm doing is basically harmonizing that top note. We have the G, C, B flat going to the D, A, F into the F, B flat, E. So that's very colorful there because we got a tritone in there. So a very Dorian sound. I really encourage you trying out this type of voicing, and you really can use it to, make more colors during your solo or even if you're comping for somebody.
ウォーターラインっていうからね、なんかふんわりした感じかと思ったらね、なかなかかっこいい系の曲に仕上がりましたね。
That's right. It has many different faces, variations in terms of colors, that one. And that main groove ended up being a little more like laid back and chill and heavier than anticipated actually. And for those of you who are wondering, beer is very close to water. So I think we can call it beer line.
Say water, drink beer.
That's what we're doing right now. Oh, but there's some water here, so we don't want that, no?
If you're going to practice soloing with this bass line over it, I recommend using a trusty metronome. Put on the metronome. For me, right now I'm going to put it at 100, although the score says 95. practicing soloing over such bass line, I really recommend paying attention to both hands. I've seen or heard instructions before about how you should make one hand automatic and then solo over it. I really do not prefer that approach. Obviously, if that works for you, great. I'm not here to stop you. But if you like to try something different from that, do pay attention to both. That way it actually really helps you develop your ears and your brain to be disciplined, but also at the same time, as I'm doing in the video, or the performance video, you can see that I'm actually making up the bass lines as I'm making up my solo at the same time. And that really comes from working on paying attention to both hands, even when you're soloing. I'm just playing chords right now. You can try muted sound. So we can try playing just 16 notes over it. Now you can hear in that example I did different things, such as, play single lines, I played some chords, I did some stuff where I actually take a top note and harmonize that from top to the bottom.
I really envision it to be something where it'll be something really unique for me and Keg to play. I mean, the tune's not like super unique, I guess, but just the way that Keg and I can execute it. Distinct bass line that it has space for Keg to throw in his double pedal quite a bit underneath it. It's his specialty, obviously. His tone is still heavy and precise as always. A lot more timbre to what he can do with it now. His soloing over Waterline is super cool too. I think that's one of the highlights of the tune, actually. I'm doing all these fancy licks, just playing fast and putting on the distortion, taking it to the next level, when all he has to do is just hit his stack cymbal, which is kind of a new thing that he does right now.
いや、あの位置にあったらウェックリーな気分になりますね。
Kūbo, absolutely amazing. Michael and Daniel, thank you so much. Recently, actually, it changed this. I used to have volume and tone, but now we just have volume. Of course, the labella strings, Nordstrand pickups, hip shot, these little things right here. This actually controls the B bass, the sound modeling right over here. We got the gear fret wrap. Thank you, Jay, and everybody here. Now we got the Star Lifter bass preamp. That is really, really amazing. It's like the only preamp I use. Thank you, Carrie, for such wonderful products over the years. And by the way, if I didn't mention, my pickups are Nordstrand pickups as well. I use it basically completely flat. I mean, the thing sounds amazing that you really don't need to touch any other knobs. Right here, we have the Amperor that the Ampshop is actually making. Shout out to Ampshop. And so this one acts like a rhythm and then so you can actually have both on at the same time. And it sounds really awesome. The thing I really like about it is even touching the tone, making it brighter or darker, it doesn't make it muffly or too bright or anything. It's very, very nice in terms of having a solid body and tone. And that really works really well with Kūbo. Neunaber, the Seraphim, the Shimmer, it's actually just a nice reverb as well. So I actually left my Immerse at home. It's the first time the Immerse hasn't come to tour with me. We got the Inspire, so I'm actually using that with my 4 strings. Kūbo has these 4 strings right here. I use these mainly to play like chords and maybe some lines. Roland B bass. I've been using this since 2008. The thing is way ahead of its time for sure. It's a sound modeling. I've been using the DB20 for a really long time. I use it as a delay, of course, but I also kind of use it as a sustain pedal like a piano. Tap tempo over here to switch it around. We have Kirlin cable. These 3 are all Kirlin cable. These are the Stage Plus. I don't think they're available commercially. Team at Kirlin, especially Arthur, thanks for making these cables.
Actually, the stuff that we're doing right now, like Prequel, the Distance Aside series thing that we're doing remotely, I'm actually using a lot of things that I learned from doing Waterline. A lot of that's going to come out and we're going to sound like even a bigger ensemble. We'll see. Alright, so that was Waterline, Detailing Details, episode number 4. 4. We will continue with this. I hope you really enjoyed that. I hope you have some takeaways from it. Please subscribe, buy some of my shito on Bandcamp. Let me know if you have any specific questions about how to practice something. I'm always happy to answer that. And of course, if you really need some help, we can do online lessons or in person. Either works for me. We'll look forward to the next one, and thank you. This was Kai Kurosawa and Detailing Details, episode 4. See you next time, guys.